TUNIT token is becoming more than just a token, and this is the rise of an independent mega ecosystem. Hi, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the CryptoInvestar podcast. My name is Daniel. Today, we need to talk about something that I think many people are still underestimating. Because when most people hear the word crypto token, they immediately think about speculation, trading charts, meme coins, price pumps, and social media hype. And every once in a while, you begin seeing a project trying to evolve beyond just being a token. But honestly, that's where things start becoming interesting. Today we are talking about the Unity token ecosystem, also known as TUNIT, and why I personally believe that the project is trying to position itself as something much bigger than an ordinary crypto startup. Not just a token, not just a community, but potentially a fully independent mega ecosystem that is connected to tokenization infrastructure, to banking relationships, to exchanges, to logistics, and to real-world asset systems. And whether people support it or doubt it, I think the direction itself deserves serious conversation. Because this is no longer looking like a normal crypto project, but it is a real fundamental change. There's a shift that is happening inside crypto. Before we even talk about TUNIT specifically, I want us to talk about, what is happening globally. The crypto industry itself is evolving. The old crypto cycle was mostly driven by hype. Projects launching every week, promises everywhere, communities chasing fast money. But the market is maturing now, slowly, painfully, but it is maturing. And what investors are increasingly asking is, what problem does this ecosystem solve? That question is becoming more important than ever, because eventually every blockchain ecosystem, it reaches a point where it must answer, what infrastructure are you building? What economies are you connecting to? What systems are you integrating with? And this is where TUNIT seems to be trying to move differently, because it is now positioning itself as an independent ecosystem. One thing I keep observing carefully is that TUNIT token is no longer behaving like a standalone token project. No, but the ecosystem appears to be building layers around itself, and that is very important, because real ecosystems, they survive through interconnected infrastructure. I was speaking about this in my previous episode. That is important, because when you look at the recent developments around Unity, you begin seeing multiple pillars forming around the ecosystem. For example, we are seeing tokenization infrastructure, we are seeing banking relationships, PT, but bank. We are seeing exchange infrastructure, quantum exchange. We are seeing real-world asset positioning. We are seeing aviation infrastructure discussions. We are seeing logistics conversations. We are seeing digital payment integrations, institutional narratives, humanitarian initiatives. Now, whether all of these ambitions fully materialize long term, that remains to be seen. But the direction itself tells us something important. That this ecosystem, it appears to be thinking much bigger than the market speculation. It is appearing to be thinking much bigger than mere market speculation. There's something amazing happening here. Quantum exchange. And this is important. Let's talk about this for a moment, because I think many people still don't fully understand why quantum matters here. A lot of crypto projects, they depend entirely on external exchanges for survival. Meaning, if exchanges remove them, liquidity dies, visibility dies, access becomes difficult. But ecosystems that begin building their own infrastructure layers, they gain something powerful. They gain something powerful. That is independency. And quantum, it appears to be positioning itself as more than just another exchange. And the narrative increasingly looks connected to tokenization infrastructure itself. And tokenization is becoming one of the biggest conversations in the global finance. Looking at real estate, looking at infrastructures, looking at assets, investment systems, commodity-linked structures, digital ownership frameworks. Major institutions globally are already discussing tokenization. So, if an ecosystem begins positioning itself around both token infrastructure and tokenization infrastructure, that changes the scale of the conversation completely. It changes the scale of conversation of the conversation completely. Another development that caught people's attention, it was the relationship involving PT Bat Bank in Indonesia. Honestly, this is where the conversation starts entering more serious territory. It starts entering more serious territory, because once banking institutions begin interacting with blockchain ecosystems directly, the entire perception changes. Banks operate differently from ordinary crypto communities. So these care about compliance, they care about infrastructure, they care about regulation, they care about operational systems, they care about financial structures, scalability, institutional stability. You must be having them. And personally, I think banking relationships are extremely important for the future of tokenization. Because why? Traditional financial institutions already understand asset evaluation. They already understand documentation systems. They already own structures. They already own compliance systems. They already know financial risks. They already understand institutional frameworks. And tokenization itself, it eventually needs bridges into real-world financial systems. Not just online communities, but real-world financial systems. So when Unity discussions involve banking infrastructure conversation, that signals an attempt to move forward, to move towards institutional relevancy rather than remaining purely speculative. So it shows you that we are moving from just being a token to an economy. And this is where I think that the bigger vision may be hiding. A lot of people may still analyze crypto projects as isolated coins, but the future winners in blockchain may actually become mini economies. So ecosystems with exchanges, with banking integrations, with infrastructure projects, with tokenized assets, with business partnerships, with utility networks. That's no longer just crypto. That becomes digital economic infrastructure. Honestly, I think Unity is trying to position itself inside that future narrative. And again, execution still matters. Very heavily. But vision matters too. Because you cannot build big systems while thinking small. You cannot build big systems while thinking small. One thing that many people underestimate is Africa and emerging markets that may become one of the biggest beneficiaries of tokenization systems in the future. Because many economies are still developing infrastructure, meaning there is room to build newer systems from the ground up. There is room to build newer systems from ground up. And blockchain infrastructure combined with banking systems and tokenization models, they may create alternative ways for economies to interact globally. So especially in sectors like aviation, like logistics, like infrastructure financing, trade, agriculture, property systems. That's why conversations around tokenization are becoming bigger globally, not because of hype, but because institutions are starting to see long-term possibilities of these technologies. So in my own thought, because I've been in crypto long enough to know the difference between hype narratives and serious infrastructure attempts, and I always remain curious. I always remain cautious, very cautious, because many projects, they announce huge visions but fail to execute them. But I also think that we should pay attention when ecosystems begin building multiple infrastructure layers around themselves, because that usually signals long-term ambitions. And whether people agree or disagree with Unity, one thing is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore: that the ecosystem is trying to evolve beyond ordinary cryptocurrency. And personally, I think that the next era of blockchain will belong to ecosystems connected to real world utility and institutional infrastructure. Not endless hype cycles. Not endless hype cycles. Now, the biggest question moving forward is simple. Can Unity actually execute this vision successfully? Because building a mega ecosystem is not easy. It requires leadership, it requires partnerships, it requires transparency, it requires infrastructure, it requires compliance, it requires trust, it requires long-term strategy, and most importantly, it requires patience. It requires patience. Because infrastructure projects do not grow overnight. You will start it today, it will grow next year. You will start it this year, it will grow after 3 years. But if the ecosystem continues building, strategic infrastructure layers around tokenization, banking relationships, exchange systems, and real-world integration, I believe then TUNIT may eventually become something far bigger than what many people initially expected. Yes. So overall, I think the most important thing happening right now is this, that TUNIT is no longer trying to look like just another crypto token. Personally, I'm holding TUNIT, but I don't take it like I'm holding a token. It is increasingly positioning itself as an independent ecosystem that is connected to tokenization infrastructure, to these financial systems, to these global utility narratives. And whether people agree or understand the vision yet or not, the direction itself is becoming very interesting to watch. It is becoming very interesting to watch. Thank you guys for listening to the Crypto Investor Podcast. And today I want to ask you something. Do you think tokenization ecosystems connected to banks, to exchanges, and to infrastructure represent the future of blockchain? Do you think tokenization ecosystems that are connected to banks, to exchanges, to infrastructure, they represent the future of blockchain? Or do you think most crypto projects will remain trapped in speculation forever? Let me know what you think. Please subscribe to the podcast, share this episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep building wisely and patiently.